Welcome to the Kelly Patrick Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's episode, I am joined by Branden Bishop. Branden, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
Doing well. I'm trying to think about when I met you. If we tell the brief story of us, maybe 2017-ish.
Yeah, somewhere around in there, I
Something
think.
along that run where I was for about 3 years in a row. I did most of the or all of, I think maybe the Hard Rock Show, something like that.
Yeah.
And I probably, I think that's probably around when I met you.
Yeah, I think so. You were doing the commentary while I was fighting.
Correct.
And I think one of the first contacts we may have had would have been when you asked me to come on the radio show.
Okay. Yes. And so you joined me on the Weekend Sports Buzz.
Yeah.
In Southern Indiana. We live here in Louisville, so right across the river.
Yep. I was there for a few episodes as a guest, and then you guys dragged me on the show.
Yes. So how long did that last?
It was about 2 years almost.
So for about 2 years, every Sunday morning, Branden Bishop and I would be on the Louisville, Kentucky radio airwaves for a sports radio show.
Yeah.
Across the board, as far as basketball, baseball, football, that's not necessarily always your, historically been your forte of interest.
No, but I was still able to serve a purpose on the show,
Oh,
being
100%.
kind of like the layman.
Yes, 100%. Yes, yeah. No question about that, because a lot of it's screwing around, joking.
Sure. And well, I mean, as the guy who doesn't know anything about the show, it affords the audience the opportunity to be educated.
Sure.
By
very
having
true.
things explained to me.
Very true. Yes.
So I got to play the dunce role on the show and not know anything you guys were talking about. But because of that, you got to explain that to me. And if the audience didn't know, then they got to be educated during that time. So that was good.
So, of course, you're a MMA fighter. One of the early Weekend Sports Buzz, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM, WXVW. One of those early few episodes you were on was a Armored Combat episode.
Yeah.
Sherman Hand came in with you?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was actually one of the influencing guys that got me into that sport. I saw him on the news one morning with Ricky Rayom, and they were promoting a show that they were doing in Louisville, and that's how I got involved. So whenever you asked me to come on the show and promote some Armored Combat stuff, I was like, I think I need to bring Sherman with me. So he's still around. We haven't seen him in armor in a while. He got injured and then took some time off to spend time with his family and work and stuff.
So this is a HRMMA preview episode, in effect, really. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Armored Combat stuff. So someone's tuning in to preview the HRMMA card, which is coming up in Bowling Green, November 22nd. And they hear Armored Combat, and then they say, "Oh, this guy got injured." I mean, that to me that sounds like what did he get stabbed?
So accidents happen.
Did he have a rough injury?
So in his case,
is he alive?
Yeah, he's still with us. Yeah. In his case, he had fallen and tried to catch himself, and the way that he had fallen, his wrist got bound up, and then other people fell on him, and it broke his wrist.
Oh wow.
But it's not uncommon to break bones. One of our guys, Eduardo, broke his tibia, or I'm sorry, what's the radius? I think on the outside of the wrist there. It's like the from the elbow to the pinky there. Broke that, taking an axe to the forearm by accident. We had a guy named Eric that took a long sword to the eyeball over the summer, but he still got both of his eyes and can see just fine. So, I mean, just merely a flesh wound.
Okay. And you guys have an upcoming event.
We do, yeah.
So we're doing an HRMMA 127 preview episode, but we did want to talk a little bit about the preview of the upcoming Armored Combat event.
Yeah, a little shameless plug. So next Saturday at the Grand in New Albany, we're having Metal Armored Fighting, Metal AF. If you've never heard of that before, it's full contact armored fighting. So we have medieval style armor, and we fight with real steel weapons in the MMA cage. Very similar rules to mixed martial arts, and I try and mix up the two worlds that I love the most, which is music and martial arts. So we have a live band that plays metal music as the intros for the fighters as they walk out to the cage, and then they fight MMA style. So you can pick up the tickets to that at eventbrite.com. Look up Metal AF3, Metal Armored Fighting 3. So That's all I had to say about that. I didn't come here just to talk about me.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that and a little history of
Sure,
you.
yeah.
Also, you do commentary for Future of Fighting.
I do, yeah. And we've got another show coming up December 6th at 4th Street Live.
So, for those of our listeners who don't know Branden, Branden is one of the main commentators for, I mean, pretty hot promotion, really. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm being real, the 4th Street Live venue is very impressive. If you're from out of town, someone's tuning in, not familiar with Louisville, that was, I don't know, maybe the most impressive venue you could get in the city, maybe?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, and you know, I've been really impressed with the promotion. It's Phil Perkins out of 502 MMA. He's done some really good shows. He does really good work. He takes care of the fighters, and you know, I feel lucky to be a part of the whole show and the promotion because I think it's a really good show and it's going places, man. So I'm just happy to be a part of that.
Okay. So for our HRMMA 127 preview episode, it will be, as I said, Saturday, November 22nd, 2025, of course, Bowling Green, Kentucky. There's a little backstory. If someone's not familiar with you, you fought for Hard Rock. How many times you think?
I mean, if I had to guess, probably 8 or 10 times over the course of my career.
So for the sake of this episode, you're a qualified, despite you're not maybe super familiar with the Bowling Green cards always. You never fought in Bowling Green.
Right.
But as far as the Hard Rock scene goes, you're very familiar.
Sure,
You know
yeah.
Donnie and you know the gyms and all that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with a lot of the coaches from the area. You know, Tennessee, we get a lot of fighters and coaches from Tennessee area whenever we fight down in Bowling Green. So I'm familiar with a lot of the guys, even if it may not be a particular fighter. I'm probably familiar with the gym they're from or the coaches that they fight under.
Good stuff. Okay, so if we're doing a preview, we're looking at the event coming up once again Saturday, November 22nd, 2025. Looking at I'll start with, we have a matchup, 170-pound matchup, 0-1 versus 0-2.
Okay.
That's what this is. It's local MMA, amateur MMA. To be honest with you, sometimes these matchups are the best.
Yeah, you know, I say that a lot of times when I'm doing my commentary with Dan Farmer over at Future of Fighting, is that you know, you see these young fighters come in. A lot of times, the 0-0 guys or the ones that have a couple of losses on the record but haven't had a win yet. Those are the guys that are the most hungry. They're the ones that are most excited. They put in the most work to get there.
Did you lose your first couple fights?
I did, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just remembered that. You lost your first 2 amateur fights.
I did, yeah.
Correct. Yep. And then you won a couple in a row.
Yep. Well, actually, the first I lost my first 3 of 4 fights. So I won number 3 and then lost number 4.
Okay.
And then I went on like a 7-fight win streak after that.
Okay.
But
so you can speak to this type of resume.
Yeah, you know, I mean, just because they haven't had a win in their career yet doesn't mean that they aren't very skilled fighters coming in, even, you know, without that experience yet. I mean, some of these young guys we're seeing coming in as 0-0 amateurs are unbelievable fighters because they've got 10 years experience in the gym, sometimes more. A lot of these guys now we're seeing second generation of fighters starting to come up. Guys who, my dad was in the gym and now they're turning 18 and you're seeing these guys pop up and you're like, man, this is a whole new breed of fighters now. These aren't just the guys who had to go figure it out. These guys are getting qualified coaching from excellent coaches, and then they're getting a lot of experience before they're ever stepping into the cage for the first time.
So we have Julius Sedholm, which if I remember correctly, might be from Egypt. I apologize if I'm mixing that up. But I don't even show right here which gym he's with. So I apologize for that. He's 0-1 against William Baber, who's fighting out of Carlisle, Kentucky. He's sitting at 0-2. I don't have any info right now about Julius, who's sitting at 0-1. However, William Baber, I do.
Okay.
He says, and this was, keep in mind, prior to one of his 2 prior fights, so back in 2024. He is from Paris, Kentucky. He wrestled in school for 6 years.
That's a good base.
Went to state every year for high school. I was region winner my senior year. In 2024, he was a 2-stripe white belt. His coaches are Paul Hogan, at least as of 2024. And look, it looks like he's typing right now. So these episodes caused me to message people and say, hey, give me some updated info type.
Sure. Okay.
So I'm sure of the wrestling pedigree. I'm not 100% of the current coaches, but it shows Brock Barnes, Justin Parks, trained out of Bourbon Submission Academy in Paris, Kentucky. Went to Bourbon County High School. I've heard they have a solid wrestling program.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to be a threat because anytime you can control the wrestling, you can control where the fight takes place. So, if, well, I'm sorry, what was the first fighter's name?
Julius.
Julius. You know, if he can't negate the wrestling, he's going to have a problem regardless of the style of wrestling. I
Sure.
mean, if you can't stop it, then you have no choice where the fight takes place. And if you just end up underneath of somebody for, 3 rounds, you've lost the fight by decision, even if you were putting in more work. So I always feel like the person who has the better wrestling skills can kind of dictate where the fight takes place. They're usually the more dangerous fighter.
And I should say, for the sake of listing our credentials when doing this, I was a judge for fights back in 2013, 2014, without any real grappling or combat sports experience at the time.
Yeah.
And you're right. When guy's on top, what are you going to do? What are you going to say? Now,
Right.
Todd Neal did warn me early. Kelly, I know you don't know shit about fighting, but be careful. The guy on the bottom sometimes could win.
Yeah. And it's true, but a lot of times it's rare.
Sure.
You see these guys, even a lot of times with an experienced judge who knows fighting, you have a guy on his back who's attempting the submissions. He's staying active. He's constantly trying to strike, but the strikes are kind of insignificant because he's fighting off of his back.
Yeah.
And the attempts don't really amount to anything because you could look at it like the top guy is escaping those attempts. So, even with a judge who knows what's going on with the experience, you could still look at it either way. So usually when you're taking into account control, top usually is in control. So again, if the wrestler can get you down and stay on top, he's kind of winning the fight, even if he's not.
I did get a little updated info from Baber. He said he is now a one-stripe blue belt.
Okay.
And his cornermen as of right now are William Ewers, familiar name to the Hard Rock scene, and Brock Barnes.
Okay.
So that's our first fight of the night. And, give me just a moment. I'm going to do a little bit of extra homework. You tell us a
Sure.
little bit more about the Armored AF stuff.
Okay. So I'll I'll look up my card while I've got it.
This
here,
is a good way to do like cross commercials, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
people are tuned in, so now they're
they're forced to listen to my bullshit while we're talking about Hard Rock. But so again, November 15th, that's next Saturday at the Grand. Doors open at 6, fights start at 7. We've got 10 armored combat fights. Again, these are real steel weapons and real fights. Some of the weapons include falchions, maces, long swords, short swords, pole arms, axes. We've got the whole deal. And then we've also got live performances from local metal band Give Up, Michael Mullins and his band. We had them out last time, and those dudes were on point, man. They played the intros for all the fighters, and then they also played a little intermission music for us. And I don't think I've heard a more talented local band in a long time. Those guys are killing it, man. So show starts again at 7 o'clock. You can get your tickets on eventbrite.com. And if you haven't seen it, man, go check it out on social media. We've got Louisville Royal Steel Fighting and Metal Armored Fighting, or Metal AF. What'd you find for us, Kelly?
I didn't get any information about the 0-1 guy, so
You suck.
He's 0-1. I think he trains with Sandro and Donnie Wallace at a HRMMA. I may be wrong. I apologize if I'm wrong.
Wallace is solid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sandro also, very solid black belt, very high level.
Yeah.
Everybody who rolls with Sandro is always telling me. I've never rolled with him, but everybody seems to talk about how much of a badass he is. All right, up next. Solid matchup. We have a definitive Hicks fighter.
Okay.
Cameron Ashby. I love this guy's story. He's up not far from our age. Let me see.
So an elderly gentleman.
How old are you?
I'm 43.
Okay. And I'm 42. So yeah, right there. Cameron Ashby. He's a family man. I think he's like 34, something like that. My phone's not bringing it up here. Um, he's always got a big, his wife. He's always talking about his wife. She's always there at the events. He's sitting at 3-4 in his amateur career, coming off. He did lose to Zach Russ. So to be fair, he probably just lost his most recent fight. I was fortunate to commentate it to a guy who's going to be in the UFC soon.
Okay. Well, no shame there,
Yeah,
right?
and it's like a 6'5" all-state wrestler, and he's a real competitive kickboxer, Zach Russ. So just a total badass. And not to say that Cameron's not a badass himself. He's 6'2", but there's just a different level. It was a 185-pound matchup. I think it's 185. Let's see. But that Zach Russ, man, whew, I think he's fighting Dylan Budka. I saw coming up soon, which is
okay.
Yeah, 185-pound matchup is who he just lost to with Zach Russ. So, but upcoming, he's fighting against Tim Walker, who's 3-3.
Okay.
I don't see that I have info about Tim. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Cameron Ashby. He played 9 years of football, 6 years of basketball, 6 years of baseball, 4 years of field and track.
Wow.
Married to beautiful wife, Brittany Ashby, 4 kids. He's a millwright, iron worker for H&H, sheet metal, and firefighter. Sounds like he's got a real good support system there at Hicks. And I don't see his age right here, but I think he's like at least like 32, 33 years old. Big, strong guy. Really got matched up against a prodigy, and he went out swinging. I should note that in his last fight against Zach Russ, he went in there like I remember. I do commentary with Mooney.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, like he's got to. If you're kind of over, no offense to Cameron, but if this guy's like on a fast track to the UFC and he's much bigger than you and he's an all-state wrestler and you grow up playing football and, other sports,
Sure.
you got to go in there and completely be swinging. Mike Tyson it up. Like you've got to really connect. You've probably been in a somewhat similar situation, more so than I have.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yes. But he did that and he left it all on the line and he suffered a loss. But if there's such thing as an admirable loss, in my opinion, that was one. So he is going against Tim Walker, who's listed at 3-3, 36 years old, 6'3". So this is a 185-pound matchup. Cameron Ashby, 6'2". This guy, 6'3". Let's see here. Tim Walker. Let me see what I got here. I don't know if I've got any information from him yet. But this will be a exciting matchup. I always enjoy the Hicks gym. They've got a real like wholesome crowd that comes, and it seems like they're real successful gym. I don't see that I have any information about Tim Walker, but it's a 3-3 against a 3-4. So I think that would, and I apologize. That one's actually at 175.
Okay.
So it looks like Cameron Ashby had to go up to 185. Yeah, 180 had to go up to 185 to fight this Zach Russ guy. So he just kind of walked into a buzzsaw there.
Yeah, man, that's a rough situation right there. Just going in knowing like, man, you got to go up and weight. You got to fight a dude that's on his fast track. I mean, it's rough.
Yeah.
I noticed every time I went up in weight, I got my ass handed to me.
Is that right?
Every time. Yeah, because I fought in 2 weight classes. I fought at 155 where I won championships and then retained it for God knows how long. And then I fought at 170. And every time I fought at 170, I just get beat up, dude. Like every time, man.
Size matters, huh?
It does matter. Yeah, people want to deny that, and I mean that size doesn't matter until you have even skill. And now the dude's got the same skill as you, and he's bigger. You're in trouble.
Up next, we have an 0-1 Micah Graham against a 2-1 Gerardo Alfaro out of Hicks. Okay, Micah Graham. His coach is Michael Ward, and his main training partners are Braden Torres, Alec Jefferson, Dolph Dana, and Austin Cathers. He trains jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, and wrestling. When he was age 16, he's currently age 18, and he's sitting in 0-1.
Okay. So he's again probably another one of those. Sounds like he's got a lot of experience, and he just came in and just didn't get the win the first time out.
Yeah.
And I mean, that happens. A lot of people don't realize, 50% of the dudes on the card are going to lose tonight. I mean, that's just the way it is. So when you go in there, you've got a 50-50 chance every time. I don't care what the stats say.
Up next, we have Gerardo Alfaro, who I enjoy him. He's a exciting fighter. And I'll say that when I first fell in love with Gerardo Alfaro was when I saw a dad bod, and I'll say it, matched up against Tony Tubbs' nephew, this Iris Tubbs guy, just the most chiseled, just crispest punches you've ever seen from the Cincinnati area. Just a boxer, just an absolute animal. And Gerardo, who, no offense, he had lost a lot of weight, just more of a dad bod. I'm not saying I'm chiseled or anything. I'm more on the dad bod side, of course. That's why I probably identify with it and appreciated it. And he just won the fight with just kind of being a little bit of dirty boxing and just being savvy. But he he did eat some shots, but he was just a little bit more of an MMA fighter.
Okay.
And I was really impressed with him, with Gerardo, when he won that fight a couple years ago. Then he was matched up with Jacob Yancey.
Okay.
From Louisville.
Yeah.
And I think Gerardo came in overweight, and there was a lot of shit talk between those two, so they didn't fight.
I couldn't imagine Yancey shit talking anybody.
So I enjoyed that too. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But that fight never ended up happening, and then he did fight most recently against Omar Campbell, where he did lose via guillotine. But I'm excited to see Gerardo get back in there against Micah Graham. Let's see the info that I originally got about Gerardo. I interviewed him. That's right. I sent him a Zoom link back in 2024.
Oh, yeah.
And I did an episode with him because I was so impressed with his tactical win. All right. So it says here he started training about 5 years ago. So you could tell, and this was in 2024. So he's probably 6 years into at least jiu-jitsu. Originally training out of his buddy's garage because he couldn't afford to go to Hicks. He had some friends who trained there, and then he ended up going in. And at the time, that's right, he was about 230 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And on this card, he'll be fighting at, so he was 230, 170.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, man.
Made it into Hicks, has been working real hard, really buys into Sandro, Dylan Osterman, Demathian Bloodworth, and of course, Donnie Wallace. As of 2024, he was a blue belt, but he looked real savvy with the grappling that I remember in that Tubbs matchup. Coming off a loss, it'll be interesting to see him get back in there. Up next, we have another local fighter, Gabriel Alfaro.
Okay.
Who against Alec Jefferson. Alfaro sitting at 1-1, and Jefferson is 0-0. They actually Gabriel Alfaro and Gerardo Alfaro, I think, are like cousins, but they don't train at the same gym. Okay. So they're Bowling Green guys. Alec Jefferson sitting at 0-0. Let me see if I have anything for them. Here, you give us a little bit more about give me a little minute for a commercial.
Sure. All right. So, Metal Armor Fighting. I guess now I can talk about Louisville Royal Steel Fighting Team. So that's the local team that's putting on the show for Metal AF, and I am your captain. So if you have any interest in doing armored combat and fighting with weapons and armor, you can message the Louisville Royal Steel Fighting Team on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And all of those messages will go straight to me, and I can tell you how you can get started whacking people with axes, stabbing people with swords, and all that good stuff. I'm just kidding. We don't stab people. We try not
to. Let's see here. So Gabriel Alfaro, he had 7 amateur boxing fights. You can tell he has a real boxing heavy game.
Yeah. Okay.
Sitting at 1-1. I saw him lose a tough fight, but I saw him get in there with a real impressive win also.
Yeah.
This is one of those guys. I'm fortunate. This will be his third amateur fight. I think I've commentated all 3 of them, which is quite the honor.
Yeah, I love seeing that too.
Isn't that
when
cool?
you get to watch them come up. the
Yeah,
whole
it
time.
is cool. It is cool. Almost regardless if they stick around. Sometimes even if they're losing.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I look at fights in two different ways. One of the ways is like the rankings where like this guy's won X amount of fights, he beat this person, that person, he should be in contention for the title and blah blah blah. But then the other ones, I don't really care what your record is.
Sure.
I just want to see you fight. You
Sure.
know what I mean? So like I don't care if you've lost every single fight I've ever watched you fight. If you're entertaining, I want to see you fight again.
Sure.
You know, so like there are guys out there that have some not so flattering records, but like I don't care about that. I like seeing that dude fight, so I hope he comes back.
He was in a rough. Gabriel Alfaro was in a rough car accident back in August. I see that I sent him a message. Said, "You all right?" He said he went through a windshield.
Wow.
Just minor injuries though, so he's doing better now. He had 7 amateur boxing fights. And it says as of 2024, I just messaged him to get some updated info, but he was at BGKY Boxing with coaches Zoc Mason, Marco Amweza.
I tell you, man, that's something I like to hear, and you don't hear often in MMA is somebody who has a hands background.
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, you rarely hear it. A lot of times you hear people who have wrestling backgrounds, of course, because that's a lot of schools offer that program. So that's one of the more typical ones you'll hear, or jujitsu because it got so popular after the '90s that jujitsu gyms popped up everywhere, and now we have legitimate coaches. So you'll hear a lot of wrestling and jujitsu backgrounds, but what you don't hear a lot of is boxing and Muay Thai backgrounds, which is surprising to me because being in Louisville, Kentucky, and having Muhammad Ali here, you would think that we would have ended up being a boxing epicenter.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, it just died off. Boxing died off. And so it's rare to hear, guys who have amateur boxing experience making the move over to MMA.
I'll give credit to a future of fighting star and Area 502 coach, Aaron Shekels, boxing coach. I'm really impressed always with Blake Alvey's hands.
Yeah.
So I know he doesn't, I don't think he's had an amateur, maybe he's not exactly what we're talking about there.
Right.
But you can tell he spent a lot of time with his boxing coach.
Yeah. And they've got, is it 5-star that's there?
5-star boxing. Yes. Aaron Shekels.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they do a really good job out there of rounding out their fighters. A lot of gyms are kind of one dimensional, or maybe they're good at two things, but usually gyms are specialists. But a lot of the fighters you see come out of 502 are really well rounded, got good hands, they got good takedowns and takedown defense, and then once they hit the ground, they're excellent on the ground.
Up next, we have Damian Sanders sitting at 3-1 against Bryce Barnes, who's 1-3. 145-pound matchup. Damian Sanders coaches are Jeff Robinson, Nick Hubler, Jerry Clore, and Josh Gears.
Okay.
So he trains up there with a very impressive crew, of course. As of April of this year, so he's 19 years old. Maybe he just turned 20. He was 3-0. He did take a loss there, but very impressive young fighter going against Bryce Barnes. Now let me see here. Let me remind myself of what happened. Yeah, he lost to Jordan Gast via heel hook.
Okay, I knew. I was going to say I knew.
Yeah,
I've heard that before.
That's what it was. He lost to Jordan Gast in the title fight via heel hook. Was 3-0 prior to that. Now he's matched up with Bryce Barnes. Bryce Barnes is a wrestler. Okay, real tough kid. He's gotten in there and he's done some kickboxing to shore up his striking. With the wrestling foundation. A lot of times, it seems a lot of times wrestlers end up finding a home as a striker, and it seems Bryce Barnes is really focusing on doing that. So he's got a 1-3 record, but I think a very tough, surprising fighter. I got to see one of his kickboxing matches in person. Actually, one of Chance's promotions, and very impressive kickboxer with the wrestling also. So good matchup, 3-1 versus 1-3. Up next, we have Ethan Riley, another club MMA guy, sitting at 1-2 in his pro career, is going against John Terrius Jones, who's 0-2 pro. So this is our first pro fight of the night.
Okay.
170-pound matchup. Once again, Ethan Riley sitting at 1-2 against Jontarius Jones, 0-2. Ethan Riley's a guy who I got to commentate. I think I commentated his first amateur fight back in 2020. Yep, I did. And then I think I commentated maybe his like first 3 or something like that. But he has fought a bunch of studs. He's got a lot of very impressive wins on his record. In the amateur ranks, he beat Nick Wells. He beat Wilder at a 502.
Yep.
Beat George Nichols or Elijah Woodruff as a stud. I mean, that's a tough amateur. Travis Hudson, he beat unanimous decision. He lost to David Richardson, but I'm telling you, to beat Travis Hudson, Elijah Woodruff, George Nichols, and Wilder in the amateurs, and then also Smiley Nick Wells, I love it. Heck of a amateur record.
Yeah, that's a hell of a resume.
He lost his first 2 pro fights, and then he beat Nick Mondelli in his most recent. So he'll be going against Jontarius Jones. Let's see what we got about Jontarius.
I mean, he's had a hell of a career as far as a local guy goes. I mean,
Ethan,
yeah,
100%, and all since 2020. So kind of in an awkward time to get going. Really, let me see, because 2020, what was the month there? October of 2020 is when I commentated his fight against David Richardson. He was trying
right after COVID was like, right, 2019, 2020 was kind of like COVID time.
Oh yeah,
so
that was
right after COVID,
right in the heart of COVID. Yes. So I don't remember exactly if we had to wear masks or what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Well, I just remember like the government shutdowns were supposed to include gyms and everything else. So like we had guys that were supposed to be fighting after the mandates, but they weren't supposed to be training leading up to it.
And they could fight. They were allowed to fight. Yeah. But his first amateur fight, I remember Ethan went in there against David Richardson, who's a badass college wrestler, just a stud. And Richardson, with the top pressure in the wrestling foundation, kind of controlled where the fight was. But Ethan was throwing up triangles and arm bars and maybe an omoplata. And I mean, just really showing all he had with a legitimate, you could tell he was a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. So he started his amateur career 0-1 to David Richardson, and then he won 4 fights in a row. And I was fortunate. I think I was there for all of them, I think. So very cool to see someone like that get back in there. Jontarius Jones, 0-2. He's 6'1". It shows that his amateur record was 5-5. So he had quite the high level of experience in the amateur ranks. I'm not real familiar with these names or these promotions. It says here he is from Mississippi. Okay. So when you get into the pro ranks, sometimes people travel more, right?
Yeah. I mean, you start getting into I mean, I guess technically we're considered Midwest circuit, but we are not the same Midwest circuit as the actual Midwest. You know what I mean? Like the lines that they draw for whatever you would consider to be Midwest. Really, what I consider the Midwest is like Illinois, Missouri, kind of the states western, from Kentucky. But for whatever reason, we're considered a Midwest state when it comes to MMA. But a lot of those promotions, for whatever reason, you don't see a lot of crossover with our fighters. Like Kentucky fighters kind of stay Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Indiana, and then the more Midwestern fighters kind of stay in Missouri, Kansas, areas like that. I don't know why we don't see that crossover much, but maybe it's just demographically what I'm exposed to.
So are you familiar with looking at the who's gotten the most votes on here? Do you remember how to do that? You would think I'm more. Oh, picks. There we go. Picks. There we go. So this matchup, 88% of the people have chose Riley as of right now. Jones, 13%. Now, Riley, maybe he's more of the hometown kid. I know Robinson likes to go to Bowling Green. He's always bringing the club MMA crew.
A lot of times, man, you got to take that tapology with a grain of salt.
But it is fun to mention because it's at least something to talk about.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's there for a reason, obviously. Sure. but I think of it
maybe
more.
it reflects that they have more fans.
Right. I think it's more of a popularity contest than it is like a statistical betting man's. You know what I mean? Like you're not looking at Vegas odds there.
I'm hoping by me mentioning these stats, I piss someone off and stir some shit up.
I think that's kind of what it's there for.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because if I'm on Tapology and I see that I'm slated to lose to somebody and
You're
it's
like,
80%, 20%, I'm coming in there to whoop your
Especially
ass.
if you legitimately thought you were the favorite.
Right.
Yeah. I can see where that would piss you off.
Yeah. Well,
You're
I mean,
like 4-0. This guy's 0-2.
yeah. And I'm already
And then
pissed
you're
off
like
that this dude.
95% of the people say this guy's going to win. I would.
Yeah. And he's already signed a piece of paper that says he thinks he can beat me.
Sure.
You know, so like I'm already mad. And now you're going to say everybody else thinks he can beat me too.
I'm sure Hard Rock doesn't mind if this feeds into them getting more and more pissed off at each other. Of the previous fights, since I have not been mentioning the stats, Sanders, let me see. Sanders got 100% of the votes. So that's all they mentioned on that one.
Wow.
And Jefferson got 89% of the votes, into Alfaro 11%. Okay. And then for Gabriel Alfaro, he got 80% of the votes compared to 20% from Graham. Walker got 75% of the votes compared to Ashby at 25%. And in the first fight, it says Sedum, who I think is the Hicks guy, got 100% of the votes. So, all right, I'm going to continue. So we did the Jones and Riley.
Now it doesn't tell you how many people voted either, right? So
No,
if it says
doesn't.
100%, it could technically be just one person voting.
No, I assume it's like hundreds of thousands.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, I
right,
used to say on the Hard Rock commentary. Have I told you this?
Probably not.
that I would say into the screen with a straight face. For I'm doing commentary. I've been doing commentary for Hard Rock for years. They're not the biggest shows. We don't sell that many tickets. Okay, let's be real. But I would confidently say, "Oh, just got word in. We've sold 80,000 pay-per-views." And I kept saying that. And then, Adam Gomez, of course, he's watching the pay-per-view at home. And he's like, well, starts mentioning in all the comments, well, if they're selling 80,000 at, $30 a pop, why are they only paying the fighters? So Hard Rock had to tell me to stop saying that.
That's funny.
I shouldn't have exaggerated that much, but
you could have said like 50,000.
If I would have said 100, people would be like, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a round number, you know?
Yeah. I think, I mean, I don't know how many people tune in, to be honest. That's okay. That's not what I'm doing this stuff for. It's enjoyable.
Sure.
All right. Up next, we have Zach Skoll. His legal name is Zlatko Skoljan. He was the main event fighter out of HRMMA for the last card. I think let me see how many of his fights I've done. How many of this guy's fights have I commentated? I think I've commentated maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6. Yeah, this might be number 6 or 7 for Zach Skoll, but he's a wrestler, a real wrestler, wrestling heavy, 155-pounder. He's 24 years old, 5'11". So for 155, that's pretty good height, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm 5'10", and when I cut to 155, I ended up being one of the taller guys. So usually 6 foot's about the max.
Yeah, he looks like a pretty tall guy over there. But he's got real good wrestling. He trains a lot with Sandro. He's young. He's undefeated in his pro career.
Nice.
Let me see what I have, like where he wrestled and stuff. Wrestling nerds really get into that, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Where did he wrestle?
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes, man, I mean, those wrestling guys, when they know what they're talking about, they'll have a little bit of inside information that, man, how did you know that? Oh, well, I used to go to the wrestling room at Fairdale back when Toy was a wrestling coach, and
Okay.
then,
Yeah,
this guy would come in, and I saw him when he was 17. It's like, geez, man.
So back in 2021, Zach Skoll messaged me that he started wrestling at the age of 3, and he started BJJ at age 8. So he's 24 years old.
When I was 3, I had one of those pillows that was shaped like Hulk Hogan. You remember those?
I do. I had those
Wrestling
wrestling buddies.
buddies?
I did. I had
Yeah,
wrestling buddies.
man.
We're the same age. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I started wrestling when I was 3 as well,
Me
except
too.
I was doing
Yep.
it with the cream of the crop.
Me
Oh,
too.
yeah. I had the Macho Man.
That's pretty good. All right.
Thank you,
I
I've been
made a
practicing.
post on Facebook yesterday and I said, Thomas Massey is awesome. Trump sucks. Okay. And I wasn't going to mention politics in this episode, but to tie it in,
Well, since we're there.
Zach Skoll, the guy we're talking about, the 24-year-old undefeated guy who started wrestling at age 3 and jiu-jitsu at age 8, he commented, didn't peg you for a liberal, Kelly. So he called me a liberal. I would say I would kick his ass, but I don't think I would be kicking his ass.
No, he started wrestling when he was 3.
Yeah.
And you're a liberal. So
he's 24 years old. He's 2-0. All right, let's see what we got on his opponent. Joshua Grevas. He's 1-0. I'm sorry, it says that his amateur record according to Tapology is 1-0. Could be more out there that I don't know of. And his pro record is this is his debut.
okay.
He's 33 years old, 5'10". So we don't know a lot about him.
Right. And just to be clear for our listeners, Tapology doesn't always take into account anything other than your MMA record, right? So you can have a pretty serious kickboxing background, and Tapology is not going to, it's just going to reflect your MMA record. So you can have a guy that comes in at 0-0, but in fact, he's actually got 20 kickboxing fights in.
And I apologize. I do have info on him.
Piece of shit. Nobody likes a liar, Kelly.
Oh, shit. This is him about someone else.
What are you doing tomorrow?
I'll be doing jiu-jitsu during the day. Probably swim a mile before I do jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu's gay.
And then I'm going to go to a party where I'll be, get this, probably the only person there. One of the few people who speaks English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
mostly Cuban party.
I assume
people
that,
who don't speak much English.
You should get one of those translators.
Like on my phone?
No. Oh, well, you married one. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, that's not always the translating thing. I don't think, it's difficult. I do Duolingo every day.
Well, and there are different.
Yo practico español todos los días.
Okay. Bueno.
Sí.
Yeah. So the different dialects are what it's hard because a lot of times when you're learning Spanish, it's like the Mexican dialect of Spanish.
Or well, if you're learning it from the workplace, if you're learning it from Duolingo, it's Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the dialect is different when you get to Cuban.
And some of the words you say, they're like, "What? That's not how we say it."
Right? Yeah. There were certain expressions and things because I work with some Cuban guys, and I'll mess with them and I'll say something in Spanish and it's completely wrong, and they're looking at me like that's not how we say in Cuba.
So what I do know about Grevas is that he was a cornerman for Josh Neal. So he has something to do with Josh Neal. And I assume that means he trains under Carlson Gracie with Aaron Thomas, who's in Northern Kentucky. Carlson Gracie, black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So interesting matchup. I'm guessing some wrestling experience from Grevas. But, tough task for him to come into Bowling Green and go against Zach Skoll, who's sitting at 2-0. He's wrestling since he was age 3. He's the hometown kid. And that may end up being listed as the main event. I don't, I'm guessing it would be, but Tapology, I may be wrong. Tapology has Will Davis out of Derby City.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with him.
Yep. Love Will Davis. The famous Will Davis.
The Will Davis.
Yeah.
Can't be confused with any other Will Davis.
Exactly. He's fighting Devin Evitz, who's sitting at 0-1. And his amateur record was 4-2. So he's got a tough opponent there. I like it. Devin Evitz is 26 years old, 5'10", fighting out of Kentucky. I don't know that I may have back in 2021, maybe. I think I commentated this fight, it looks like. But looking forward to Evitz. Let's see if I have any info on Evitz. Oh, there we go. I'm not friends with him, but I'll at least get to add him. When I do these episodes, a lot of times it helps me to do my homework.
Yeah, dual purpose.
Dual purpose. And I get to pause and just look through my phone. So that will be the main event. That's a Will Davis 1-0, or one of the co-main events. Who knows? Zach Skoll versus Joshua Gravis may be the main event, but according to Tapology, Will Davis against Devin Evitz is. Will Davis is sitting at 1-0 in his pro career, coming off a spectacular knockout in his debut against Devin Evitz, who's 0-1, 155-pound matchup. And I'm really looking forward to the card.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's loaded with lots of potential for good fights, and again, those I like seeing the newer guys coming in, the guys with the smaller records, or the guys with the waiting to get their first win. Those to me are the most exciting fights, especially the guys that are making their debuts. I love watching the debuts, man, because I'll never forget the first time I stepped in a cage. So I know for a fact that those guys, that's a moment that they'll never forget, and we're all getting to bear witness to that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those.
And
I think back on like Brian Haynes, for example,
yeah,
where you're like, this guy looks tough. I don't know. And then you're like, holy shit,
yeah,
look at that right hand. And he
Yeah.
just knocks someone out. You're like, and then you find out, oh, he was a badass wrestler too. And
Yeah.
he's got a great box.
And the cage doesn't lie, man. I mean, if
Sure,
you're not
correct.
prepared, it'll show when you go in there.
Certainly.
But tomorrow night, Oni fights.
Oh, okay.
We've got that happening at Huber's in Indiana, actually. We got 15 fights on the card, and I'll actually be the referee for those fights.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to dip my hands in a few other cookie
So,
jars.
so what type of things do you do? Tell us what you do. You do commentary for MMA,
Yeah, I
amateur
do.
and professional MMA. Have you ever been a judge?
No, and thank God, I don't really want to be a judge. I feel like that's an added responsibility on
It is
top of just,
stressful.
I
It is
mean,
stressful.
yeah, I mean, when things go to decision, and you're just giving your honest opinion about something, and then especially like the professional fights where it's a paycheck on the line now, and just because I think that this guy won the fight, it's going to determine what happens in this guy's wallet, and that's a responsibility I don't really want. So I like sitting around talking about them. I've just now started. I refed my first Oni fights. My first kickboxing match was a few months ago, and
Did you have to do any training to that? How do you do that?
no, well, I mean, so I studied. Obviously, I've watched kickboxing from the time I mean, it's
But
probably
basically,
8.
you having however 20 MMA fights or whatever is.
Yeah, I kind of qualified as a
Makes sense.
combatant, but to answer your question, there was no like written
Formal,
test or
yeah.
qualification or anything that I had to go through. They just kind of pushed it through real quick before they required all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting to be the referee. There's been a couple of times where I've had to dodge a few. I mean, there's a few strays that come your way. You got to kind of step out of the way. And
So you've only done one event thus far.
one event, yeah, but I was the only ref for the event, so I did I think like 12 or 15
That's
fights
cool,
that night.
and it's always in Indiana.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this will be the second one. We're going up to what is it? Is it Starlight?
That sounds right.
Is that
yeah,
where it
that
is?
sounds right.
Where Huber's is, and I've never been there for any type of event like this. It'll be the first that I'm aware of them doing any type of combat sports event. So I'm curious to see how it's going to be set up. I'm excited to be a part of it. And Damon Bell is the promoter for that. So
Oh, okay. Yes, I
he's a
talked to him
BKFC
about that. Yep,
fighter
yep.
and former
Damon.
MMA
Yep.
fighter. Also runs Triumph Combat here in Louisville, Kentucky.
They're doing really well.
So
Right across the street from St. X High School.
Yeah,
on Poplar level.
Yep, Damon's doing really well for himself. I'm happy to be a part of that promotion as well. So to answer your question, I do referee for kickboxing and Muay Thai for Oni fights. I do the commentary for Future Fighting MMA. I'm the captain of the Louisville Royal Steel Fighting Team. I run the promotion Metal Armored Fighting, and 4-stripe brown belt in 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So that's my resume.
A fight that just popped back in my memory, and I might as well mention when we're talking about the difficulty of being a ref. I'm sorry, a judge, which I have done.
Yep.
I did not judge this, but it was an HRMMA fight back in 2019. Kellen Van Camp against Pat Crumpton. Crumpton was out of Nashville. And of course, Kellen Van Camp, out of Indiana. And Crumpton they're both wrestlers, so I don't want to discount Van Camp's wrestling. But based on my memory, Crumpton managed to have the top position throughout the fight. And this brings us a little bit back into kind of what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
My memories is somehow Kellen Van Camp was throwing elbows and like punches from the bottom.
Yeah.
And you could see it. I'd like to go back and watch that fight, but I remember thinking, wow, somehow he's doing all right despite being on the bottom. And the judges gave it to Van Camp.
Yep.
And I remember how pissed off the Crumpton corner was. And I remember thinking, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But I also get where the judges maybe were coming from. So I can see where it's not an enviable spot to be in.
Yeah. And, to be honest with you, reffing is kind of a high pressure job.
Oh, I can see that too.
I feel like maybe I'd probably be a little bit more comfortable as an MMA ref just because that's
You're more familiar with. Yeah.
That's just where I spent.
But kickboxing really is
very
like
similar.
what are the rules of kickboxing that are different than striking in MMA?
So there's two rule sets that they will use in Oni. One set is the kickboxing, the other set is Muay Thai.
Oh shit! They'll be throwing elbows and everything.
Yeah. So with kickboxing, basically it's all strikes above the waist. You can still throw, you can dirty box, all that stuff. Standing 8 counts are in effect, that kind of thing. 3 knockdown rule is usually in effect. And then with Muay Thai, you can use all 8 attacks: punch, kick, knee, elbow, all that stuff. And
have you done the Muay Thai before? Were you refed it?
Yeah. So there were a couple of.
Did anybody get all cut up and blood anywhere? Blood everywhere?
No, fortunately not. No.
Okay, you could see that as being possibly in your future.
Yeah. Because when you start breaking out the knees and elbows,
that's
when you start seeing.
I know when I see it at the local level in the pro MMA ranks, when they're able to elbow each other in the face. I remember I keep giving shout outs to HRMMA events, but that's all right. Back in 2017, Lance Lawrence in Shepherdsville was fighting David Bernas.
Yes.
And Bernas came down. He had a amateur boxing background and he was a wrestler, but he ended up in Lance Lawrence ended up in David Bernas's guard. And I don't know what Bernas, he didn't get the chance to do anything, but quickly Lance just starts. He's got these long, bony elbows.
Yes.
And he just started bloodying him up, and then he easily passed his guard and choked him unconscious. And so I was cage side. I don't think the video does it justice, but I was cage side to see Bernas just covered in blood, choked completely unconscious. Then he wakes up and he starts like arguing that somehow he didn't actually lose. He was out of it type thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of my memories with the potential from elbows, because there was blood everywhere.
Yeah. I think one of the worst ones I've seen was it was Jason Bryant versus a guy named Branden. I don't remember Brandon's last name, but he is no longer with us. He's passed away now, but he had you may remember him. I think he had Southern Pride tattooed on his stomach.
I remember. I commentated one of his fights.
Yeah. And
in Bowling Green.
He caught Jason with an elbow while Jason's head was on the mat. And that was the first time I'd ever seen blood exit that forcefully. Like it looked like a fountain. Yeah. I mean, Jason's head was on the mat and this blood was coming out 2-3 inches out of his head. It was squirting out so hard. And man, just covered his, obviously when you're laying on your back and your eye's bleeding, that eye socket fills up with blood. So he couldn't see out of that left eye anymore. And that's what cost him the fight. But man, yeah, elbows are dangerous. So the Muay Thai fights make me a little nervous for everybody's safety, because I'm concerned for everybody. I've fought before. I know it's a rough game. I want everybody to be able to go to work on Monday.
So good stuff. I appreciate you coming on. I was gonna mention something else. You were saying that the kickboxing. That's exciting to do the kickboxing stuff. I think that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
For your martial arts journey, kind of
Yeah.
a cool thing to experience.
It's a way for me to be able to just kind of participate in another element of the fight game.
Sure.
Stay around.
Those guys
stay
love those
relevant.
reps. Those some of these MMA fighters who will take a kickboxing match. You know, they're working on their striking. That
Yeah.
stuff's important to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also feel like it's important to have, educated people in those roles of importance. Judges, referees, the
Sure.
officials
Oh yeah.
need
Yeah.
to be educated.
Honestly, you being a brown belt in jiu-jitsu is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I would think
If
so.
like a
Sure.
true melee were to break out and you needed to choke someone out, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, for my own safety, obviously,
Sure.
as a referee, sometimes things can get out of hand. So, it's good to be able to protect yourself in that instance. But just the education alone, knowing what's happening,
Sure.
knowing, and being able to kind of predict a little bit of maybe what somebody's feeling or what they're thinking, but you can kind of possibly stop some things from getting worse, I guess, if you're there and, and you're educated. But if you don't know and you're one of these judges that's never been in a fight before and they're just like, oh, well, I think this guy won. And then next thing you know, somebody's getting upset in the corner and then a fight
Sure.
breaks
Oh, yeah,
out
yeah,
and then
yeah, yeah,
officials
yeah.
are getting, it's,
Yeah, because it isn't a good look when did you see any controversial decisions in your first event? Nothing too bad.
no, not really. I think most of the decisions are pretty good. Okay, I'll tell you one story real quick. And
This,
I know
I
we're
mean,
trying to
if you
wrap
want
it
to
up.
out someone,
I know
now's
we're
the
trying
time
to.
to do
I'm
it.
outing myself here. Actually, I told
being
myself I
gay?
wasn't. Yes, I told myself I wasn't going to talk about it, but I refed one for Kings of Kickboxing.
Okay.
I've refed there a couple of times.
So how
too.
many kickboxing events have you refed?
I think I've done 2 Kings of Kickboxing and 1 Oni fight.
Okay, so 3 total.
I think it's 3 total.
Okay.
And so in this instance, and I'm not going to name any of the fighters because people listening, but they'll know if they've seen this. But one of the fighters knees the other in the groin. I give him a warning. The same fighter knees again to the groin. I take a point. The third time this incident happens, the guy who gets kneed just collapses, and my instinct is just to start counting. I think it's fair. And then I had a couple of officials outside the ring going, no, it landed. That was below. That's it. So I went ahead and called it off. Okay, cool. They saw it. I didn't. Took their word for it, and DQ'd the fighter. And unfortunately, immediately after, they're like, "We watched the replay. It was clean." And I was like, "Well, unfortunately,
Who said that? The people, the corner of the guy who just got
well,
lost.
it's a couple of the judges as well.
Oh wow!
So
What?
you know how obviously there's judges around 3 sides of the 4 sides of the ring,
Man, that does put you in a tough spot.
and it really did, because my instinct is to start counting. I thought it was clean. 1, 2, 3, start making my count. Then I have officials outside going, no, we saw that clearly.
Hit below the belt.
2 officials
Say that it was below the belt.
said that was below the belt. It was clearly below the belt. And I was like, okay. Well, at that point, I haven't started counting. So I can't start counting now after he's already had 3 or 4 seconds on the ground for these guys to tell me,
Wow.
So as much as I hate to admit that I feel like that was a mistake on my part and that affected the outcome of that fight, but that was the first event that I had ever done. I was new to all of it, and just not.
In hindsight, you should have said
super
to the other refs who were talking to you, "Hey, unless I can see the footage, they keep away from me."
Right. And well, I mean, at that point too, again, even watching the footage back would have taken too long to have made the decision, because the decision needs to be made immediately. Was that a low shot, or should I have started counting because he fell after the shot?
People were pissed off.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had one of the corners reasonably kind of upset with me, and I felt like, man, I really was kind of put on the spot. I feel kind of upset about the way that I had handled it. It wasn't anybody else's fault. I'm not blaming anyone else.
Learning
They
experience.
were just saying what they saw. But I felt bad about the outcome of the fight.
Sure.
And it was a learning experience for me. These amateur fights are not life and death, you know what I mean? So if a referee makes a wrong call, it can be looked at and reversed, and you can still, you know, get your win back on your record or whatever. So
Okay.
I think that
Have
was
you
the
seen the
case there.
footage since then?
I haven't. No,
You never saw the
no.
video?
And we can watch it here in a little bit after we turn off the
Access
webcast
to
and
the
see,
actual supposed footage that.
yeah, we'll see if we can't find that.
Okay.
But I did talk to the fighter afterwards and kind of explained what all happened. He's like, "Man, it's all good. It's all good."
Yeah, I mean, you clearly were, doing your best.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something that miscommunication, or
Yeah.
it didn't go that way.
Yeah.
Everybody knows they're going to be pissed. You're always going to be real pissed off right when it happens,
Yeah.
because your heart is racing. You're in that, adrenaline dump mode,
Right.
and then all of a sudden,
At least
we thought this guy was the enemy. We thought this was the guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Fuck you.
Yeah. Exactly. It could be.
We thought the bad guy was this opponent,
Yeah.
and then
It could be turned on you pretty quickly.
sure, yeah, that
But
makes sense.
at least I'm not a Steve Herzog. You know, I'm not out here throwing fights.
True. Aren't you the guy who fell through the cage door?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you the
Never heard
guy?
that.
We used to watch this show, and they broke down. They said, "World's." What's the name of the show?
If I had ever heard of it, it would be called World's Dumbest.
World's Dumbest.
Yeah, I've never heard of it though.
World's
I'm not
Dumbest
sure.
what?
This one in particular was World's Dumbest Fighters.
World's Dumbest Fighters.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. It's a count.
Might have been episode 13. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
But speaking of the local Kentucky MMA scene, you fell through the door. Braden
did,
Ward
yeah.
shot a double on you.
Yep.
You went backward, would have normally hit the cage. You guys would have stopped. Maybe you would even been doing cage work.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, that moment, that split open, you were thinking, oh, he got under me, but I'm not down.
Right. I was thinking I was just going to wall walk back up.
Okay.
But there was no wall there anymore.
Or briefly, and then you stumbled. Yeah. It's the craziest shit in the world, because they both went out, rolled down the stairs, and knocked both of them completely unconscious.
Yeah.
And you guys were out for how long?
I mean, so felt like I was just taking a nap, but I think in reality I was probably out for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds maybe.
Was Lori there?
She was, yeah.
Was she just freaking out?
Yeah, and she's medical staff. She works at the hospital, so of course she was running over like she was going to be able to like magically bring me back to consciousness or something. I don't know, but you can see her running over to try and aid me in the video, actually. So it was sweet of her.
They should have just let you guys, whoever woke back up first, proceeds to try to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if he could have like rolled over and pinned me while I was still there, and they just like 1, 2, 3, new world champion, you know.
It could happen.
But unfortunately, there's no contest. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. HRMMA coming up November 22nd in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Sloan Convention Center, always a great show. And once again, the Metal
AF, Metal Armored Fighting, November 15th at the Grand in New Albany. Doors open at 6, fights start at 7. Get your tickets on eventbrite.com.
And do you have any other plugs you'd like to mention?
Just Oni Fights 2 tomorrow night at Huber's.
Okay. Well, Branden Bishop, thank you very much for coming on the show. I appreciate it, and I certainly appreciate everyone for tuning in. We will have another episode of the Kelly Patrick Show out soon. Thank you.